Hey, everybody, welcome to That's Good Stuff, the show where we review pop culture's newest releases. And this time, since it's spooky season, we checked out a couple of spooky movies on streaming. So the first one we got is a Salem's Lot on Max. So, of course, the adaptation of Stephen King's novel and was also adapted in 1979 in a famous miniseries. And then again in 2004, which I don't know too much about that miniseries, and there was like some follow-ups and stuff.
It's not good.
There's other follow-ups to it.
What is the curse of Stephen King movies? Like, what is attributed to that?
The Shining is one of the greatest movies ever. And
yeah,
then
but it's
everything
the only one.
Is like, yeah. You got to get Kubrick.
It's like, sir, make some negotiations with who you let make your stuff. I don't know who owns the rights to all his junk, but you know.
Well, ironically, he hates The Shining.
Yeah, true. So. He hated The Shining.
But you do also have The Green Mile. You have Shawshank Redemption.
True.
Which is
Wrote The Green Mile? I don't know that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Shawshank Redemption, that's considered one of the best movies of all time. And
so when he doesn't do horror
and The Mist, I love The Mist, the movie. It's good.
The Mist was mixed views. Okay, so Salem's Lot, this time on Max. And when I saw like a Max original, I was a little worried. This movie was delayed about 2 years. So it's a little short synopsis of the story. A writer moves into town, and all the girls like, ooh, look at him. Yeah, go ahead.
That is Bob from Top Gun.
Top Gun Maverick. Yeah.
And that blew me away. I was like,
yeah,
what?
range, something on Amazon. He moves into town, and someone else had moved into town. They brought something in a truck that had to be unloaded. We see that, and guess what it is? It is a vampire. So the vampire is unleashed and starts going on his vampire duties of draining blood and turning people into little kid vampires. So there's a couple characters we follow. We follow this writer and this girl that he's kind of sweet on, Susan. And then there is
Michael doesn't like the old term "sweet on."
I'm just laughing at the absurdity of the scenarios that this movie puts them in. But
there's a kid, and he's like a super kid, man. This kid is ready for action.
Dude, no joke,
doing work.
The young Blade.
Yeah, it's a young man named Wesley Snipes.
The prequel.
And his friends are some of the first victims, so he is going to avenge them because he makes them a promise. We get what is he? A minister, a preacher? I think they're Presbyterian or something. Pentecost.
He's
no,
a
they're
priest.
not Pentecostal. He's a priest.
Yeah,
Catholic.
It's a father. Yeah.
Okay.
Father Callahan.
And I didn't get it. Doesn't look like a
Don't worry, they left a lot of him out, so we'll get to it. Don't worry.
So he's kind of dealing with a conscience of faith and trying to figure that out. And then we get a teacher, a local teacher who's pretty smart. He's a pretty smart guy and likes to do some research, which will come in handy. We get the local coroner who starts to. She's not very. She doesn't believe in this supernatural stuff at first, but she learns her place pretty quickly. And a bunch of other little minor characters. This guy named Mike, who eats a peanut butter jelly sandwich and then falls asleep for hours. And
the hearty peanut butter sandwich.
I guess so. I was like, what was in that?
I do not remember that.
The guy that had to fill in the grave.
Oh!
Remember,
sorry.
he's like just sitting there waiting for the.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, the guy that gets bit by the boy.
Opening up the sandwich and.
I remember that. I was at work when I watched this. Thank God.
Okay.
So was I.
So that's pretty much the story. You kind of could guess where's it going, especially if you read the book. And yeah, it's for me. It was a pretty.
The drive-in was a surprise for me.
The what?
The drive-in was a surprise for me.
The drive-in scene. It's a pretty standard horror, like funny vampire, silly. It was a silly movie. I didn't hate it. I mean, I watched it to the end, but wasn't the greatest. I could see why it was debuted on HBO Max. It wasn't the greatest of quality, but it was what it was. So what did you? I've never seen the miniseries, so I can't really compare it to that. But it's what did you guys think? Let's start with Jared.
They should have made Alex watch this just because it's vampires and his quest for a good one.
No, he would
see how much
sad.
He disliked it.
He would have been sad.
But then he texted me. He's like, "I watched The Boy," and I was like, "Oh, that's
The Boy."
Yeah, it's about a pup doll. I can't really get into it because that will spoil the movie, but it's a horror movie.
There you go.
Did you say Migo?
Yeah, you go.
Oh, okay.
Hugo.
Hugo. Look, we watched Hugo, guys. There's no French people in Paris. I didn't mind it. I liked the kid in this because he was the only one doing work. He's like, he was murdering a lot of vampires.
Dude, he did not care.
He's like, give me the steak, I'll get it. I really like the kid. That's about it for this movie. I like the look of the vampire. It looked all right.
I did at first, but then when they got close to him, I was like, you're not that nice.
I liked when they kept trying to hold him back and they just show him like in the dark.
Yeah.
But at the drive-in, it wasn't as good.
He looked like who am I thinking of? Shoot, Mrs. Puff or something. When he's like, oh no, the bad guy at the end of not him, the vampire on Adventure Time when his head gets big. It looks like that.
Marceline's dad.
Yeah.
Mr.
I remember his head getting big.
Hudson Aberdeer.
Yeah, he like blows up like a balloon. That's what it looks like.
Stomping on names, sucking their souls.
Go ahead,
I didn't really like the main dude, Bob. He was okay. He just kind of
there.
He was just
Bob,
concerned about his woman.
When you said Bob, I was like, his name's Ben, but all right.
He was just concerned about keeping like a relationship with that girl more than anything, more than his life, man. More than everyone's life.
She is fine.
He got lucky one time, and he just can't see the truth. Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I didn't hate it. It's
schlock. That's what
I'm not a big fan of vampires, so it's okay.
Michael, let's go to you next.
Well, like I said, I was happy to watch this at work because it was still a bit of a slog for me at work. I will say the positive of this movie. It's shot really well. Like the camera and the aesthetic and like the color and everything, I thought it was really, really well done. Transitions and creative stuff like that. And like Jared said, the vampire, I liked how the vampire looked a lot. And just even the fight scenes weren't bad at all. But just like I messaged you guys about 30 seconds into this movie and it was about after the first 5 words were said. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie with this bad of dialogue at this production. Like,
welcome to a Stephen King movie.
It was some of the worst garbage I've ever. Like, what did he say? It was the very beginning, and the sad thing is, there's so many good actors in this. There's so many good actors. It's like, why? But the guy from the Marvel movies in the beginning, he tells him, he's like, "Are you following me?" He's like, "I do believe I am following you," and I was like. It was like something that bad. And I was like, what? And it just carried throughout the whole movie. I didn't care about a single person. The little Blade kid was cool because he just didn't give any toots. And but like you get introduced to the weird like 30-year-old high school relationship that's happening between the writer and the secretary. It's like, wow, this is off-putting. And then you get the creepy sheriff man, and it's just like it's like a bad parody. Of like Twin Peaks or something. And it's just like no one felt legitimate or believable. I did like the teacher though. I like that actor a lot.
Yeah,
I think he did a good job. And then I don't know her name, but the black lady who played what was she? She's a scientist?
The coroner.
There you go. I like her a lot. She did a great job too. Like even with the bad dialogue, she presented it well.
I liked her energy, like I'm getting too old for this crap kind of lady.
Yeah, she did a good job with the horrible dialogue. But I mean, I couldn't care. And the movie was so long for how bad it was. it just kept going on, and then like I said, we get to that drive-in scene, and it's just like
Their coffins.
It was kind of fun.
It was fun and funny, but it's just like, this is so stupid. Like, it's just like,
I don't think.
Where are all the cars? I know where would cars go to be in the not sun. I know. I'm just like, I don't know.
That was funny. Like, do you notice something missing?
Just like all the way through the movie, and then I don't know. I did like, there were some cool visuals, like I talked about before. Whenever he's outside, although the end of the scene is terrible, but whenever he's outside and the black lady's inside, and like all of them are on the rooftops and they just kind of appear in the street, there's a lot of cool visuals like that. But then like the one drags him up and she's like, catch. She throws in the stick and he stabs it and falls down like he's falling on the tooth fairy or something. I don't know. Yeah, it was just the characters' dialogue that is just so uninteresting and just dragged. I was like, all of them can die. I don't care. And then
you don't care about Susan.
the poor. I have to bring this up because this poor Danny boy, the kid that gets bit. The kid is just begging to go through puberty. Like his poor voice, and like he first talked, and I was like, I just didn't expect it. It threw me off. It was so high pitched, but he looks older. Maybe it's just like the camera or something like that, but he looks older than his voice would lead you to believe. And so the whole time, every time he get on, he'd be like, well, hi guys. I'm like, no guys. I don't know, it threw me off a lot, but he actually did a good job. But anything else with this movie?
I feel like there should be rules to the crucifix, because I don't think you can get two popsicle
sticks. Tape it together.
Yeah, well, I need to bring that up.
There should be a rule against that, because that's
the utter stupidity.
Lightsabers on this.
It's glowing. Yeah, the popsicle stick scene. Oh dear God! And then they fumble it and like trying to put it on. Like, just tape it. And she gets a bit and she's like fighting it off. Although I will say the scene with the vampire in like the sheet, that looked really cool in her face and everything. And she's like trying to get it back, but she kept talking and like biting through her. But then she stabs it, like her head's gonna break out, dummy. But
there's
also
no blood. There's no blood.
Did she get bit at that point?
Yeah, she got bit. But I guess
but the antibiotics work.
Oh.
They like just put a little of that in there. They give the shot. She's fine.
And then they held the cross. The cross didn't do
they prayed on her and it worked.
I guess.
So I don't know, man. They didn't do the rule with you have to invite the vampire in.
Yeah, that was a little weird because they kind of did it, but then they kind of forgot about it.
I love that rule in Vampire Stories. It's so cool. But yeah, like the little boy's like, come play with me. And then the big vampire's like, I'm walking in. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I didn't care for this movie in the slightest. Like I wanted to give it a higher score, but it was just like, I could not. It was horrible. This movie was horrible. Oh, what was the last line? Oh, no.
Oh, it was about something about Houdini and we make our escape or something like that.
Yeah. It's like everyone's dead. Every single person in this movie is dead except for Little Blade and Rider Boy. And they sit down and he goes, let's make our great escape. And he tosses the little thing and they smile and drive off. I was like, holy cow, tone deaf ending. What are you talking about? You're like, he was super sad about his girlfriend, but he's like, I got a Little Blade. We're going to go have adventures. And that's just like,
dude, I want a Little Blade movie.
That would be a great movie.
Oh my God, I forgot about the ending. That was horrible. It was so bad. Oh, I'm done. Go ahead, Thomas. Dear Lord.
So this is my favorite Stephen King book, probably. Also, I really love the original miniseries. And yes, Michael.
Yes.
They do the popsicle sticks.
They do.
They still do that? That's still in it?
Yeah. It's right there.
You got to find them,
man. Is it at least like a priest or something that's doing it?
No, sort of.
All right.
They give more understanding about why the cross works. It can't just be two sticks together. And so, but again, all context for this is like completely thrown out in this movie. I was telling Michael, like they show Barlow, the vampire, in the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Don't like his name.
Well, I don't mind the name.
Barlow.
I don't really mind the name. It's the fact that in the book and in the miniseries, in fact, you don't see a vampire at all, like a vampire, until almost a little over halfway through the movie and the book. It's all about the buildup. and what's going on, because there's like this presence in the town every time the sun goes down. Also, in this movie, was the sun going down every 5 minutes?
That was funny.
Like, what were you guys doing all day? They're like, it's going down. I'm like,
maybe get an early start on the day.
Well, and that's something in the book and even in the miniseries is that daytime is precious. In this, it was just like every 5 minutes was sundown. It's like, what were you guys doing all day? Taking a nap? So, every character in this was completely wrong. The priest is one of my favorite characters in the book and in the miniseries. So he's like this priest that has kind of lost faith, but he sees the vampires and he's like, oh, this is a actual physical manifestation of evil in the world that I've always wanted to fight. And so he fights evil. And he's like the most like badass character in the book. And then he gets taken out by Barlow, but not in the stupid cutaway. And you hear scrunching and sucking. You're like, no, that's like a terrible, terrible way for this character to go out. In the book and in the miniseries, spoiler alert, by the way, so Barlow, the first time we ever see Barlow is when he goes into Mark Little Blade's house. And the fact that so like what Michael was saying was that shut up, Joseph, I'm talking. The fact
Little
that
Blade, I was like, yeah.
So what Michael was talking about was like the whole inviting people in, like inviting the vampire in. That's way more what do you call it, important in the novel, because Barlow just straight up goes into the house. They don't invite him in, nothing. He just goes in, and then you kind of figure out how powerful this character is, and he makes Father Callahan drink like blood from his hand and makes him unholy. He can't step inside churches. He can't banish vampires. He like, it's this whole other thing. And what's funny is that he shows up in the Dark Tower series later on as like a guy who's walking in between worlds. But the fall of Callahan in the book is so sad, because you have this guy who finally got something of like his faith back and then is immediately just dashed. The vampires in the town, like in this movie, basically it was instant. Everybody was instantly transformed. There was no people going missing, because like in the book and even in the TV series, there's several other side characters. And by the way, this is like 3 hours long. This movie was almost 3 hours long, and I swear to God, it felt even longer than this. It was just terribly paced. But in the book and in the miniseries, people gradually start going missing. Things like, hey, this guy didn't show up to work for today, or hey, my wife's feeling really bad. I don't know what's going on. They turn a baby into a vampire, and it actually like turns the mother through that, and it's really freaky. The kid scene where he's like at the window scratching, that is such an iconic scene from the book and the miniseries. It's terrifying. Oh, by the way, this was directed by the same guy that directed the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So
this movie was directed by the Annabelle guy.
Yeah, I could tell. That like none of the vampire scenes were scary. The gravedigger part is actually terrifying because it happens during the daytime, and he digs the hole and the grave is lowered, and he's just looking into this pit of darkness, and he doesn't know why. Something's calling to him, and he goes down into the pit and he gets bit during the daytime, which is even creepier. The scene where the people drop off Barlow's casket in the book is absolutely terrifying. Like because they sense something's in this box, but they can't put their
like bumbling fools dropping it. And
the Three Stooges
morons,
going.
Yeah. Basically, like the entry of the Gladiator should have been playing. But nothing was scary in this. Like they took all these iconic moments and just like, whatever.
It feels like a movie that would be on like ABC Family.
Yes, it feels like a primetime movie. This like it was weird. This was aired during primetime, like back, like not on HBO or anything else. And this is way scarier. And That 2000s one was not very good. It's uh, Rutger Hauer was good as Barlow because they also kind of messed up Barlow for the miniseries and this one. He's not like a Nosferatu. He just looks like a guy. That's all he does. But I think they were just so desperate to have that iconic Nosferatu look that they like just used it instead. But no, everything about this was just wrong. And I was so excited for this because like the opening credits are great. That is a great opening credit scene, like with the blood on the map and everything else. And it's around Jerusalem's lot. I'm like, that's awesome. But then again, when Michael says like, then they started talking, you're like, oh no, this is bad. So it was such a disappointment. Like I'm read the book. The book is way scarier. I that's one of the few books that have made me just like, okay, cool. I can't go to sleep right now. So, but yeah, horrible adaptation.
Well, we got Tiny Blade, so now we can start
Tiny Blade,
whole universe. We got Tiny Blade and Tiny Slipknot from us. So we're starting a universe.
Yeah.
What was with the
also they also race swapped the kid and the doctor was a man, and
the doctor got shotgun blasted.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the book. She gets like the doctor gets like brutally like impaled in Barlow's like house. He like goes through a trap door and he just like falls on spikes. It's pretty gruesome.
Oh yeah, Susan's mom shoots her, huh? She's
stay away from
me. Also, Susan's. Oh God, go ahead.
When he's like fighting some vampires and one of them gets impaled and then another one jumps on him and he just like turns them and he gets impaled too.
No force at all. He's just like, whoop.
But with Susan too, she disappears like halfway through the novel because she gets taken by Barlow, and you don't really see what happens to her until later. And even like the ending is such a waste because they're like what Michael was saying, oh, happy go lucky. I'm like, what tone shift is that? And like in the book, it's such a like depressing ending because they're basically being the town is basically dying from being taken over by vampires, and they realize that they can't kill them all because it's impossible. So what they have to do is they have to burn the entire town. Like this happens like over a period of like 8 months, and they're like, well, we just got to burn it. And so they return to Salem because they're being chased through South America by vampires, and so they make one break for it and set the whole thing on fire. So it was. Oh, go ahead.
Imagine the ending happens, and he's like, "We make our great escape," and he tosses it, and they laugh and drive, and it does the Looney Tunes like shrink circle. That would have been awesome.
I'm glad you guys are having a great time. I'm pissed at this movie. I freaking hate this movie.
It's so bad. If I'd watched this at home, I would have been furious. But thank God I watched it at work. I would have been furious if I watched this at home.
The end fight with the vampire is a little disappointing because he just stabs him. I thought he was gonna like pull it out and be like, "Oh, nice try," and like go crazy. But he just died. I was like, "Oh shoot, he's dead." I was like, "Oh,
and they love
that's anticlimactic."
In this movie is like the bag with the hole, the boy in the hole.
Oh my God, the freaking sheriff scene. I about turned off the movie.
Through the window.
Well, it's like, did you contact Sheriff so and so? And the body comes through the window. He wasn't very helpful. I'm just like,
so bad.
Glad it made you laugh. I was furious the whole damn thing.
He's horrible, man.
I can't even laugh at it. I'm just mad at it.
It's a bad one.
There was one good shot. It was like when it's pitch black. I think it's the teacher down in the basement. It's like pitch black, but then the light comes on and the vampire's like there.
They ruined the teacher too. God, he doesn't go out like that. So like that whole part about, he took in the what do you call it? The gravejigger to make him feel better, like he's being sick or whatever.
Yep.
Revokes his invitation and in the book he suffers a heart attack and he's in the hospital and they're like, hey, because like this whole dire situation is going down, so he ends up unaliving himself because he knows that they can't get him out and they can't defeat the vampires. And in this, he just turns into a vampire like a chump. I'm just like, cool, great. So,
all right, so let's move on to the Hulu land. So, Hulu we watched.
Real fast. Okay. Joseph was like, because I didn't know the name of this movie, so I was like, there's probably dust in the title or something. And so there's like a movie on Hulu called Blood and Dust or something like that. And Joseph texted before, like, oh, it's in Oklahoma in 1933. When I started this Dust and Blood movie, it was like Idaho, 1922. And I was like, this fool, he said the wrong date. And so I was like, I'll wait till he says the real title, and maybe I'm wrong, and it was different. I was like, oh my gosh.
It took me a minute too. Like,
did you know this movie was originally called Dust?
It should have been called don't breathe, like, because I literally I had seen the trailer the week before. I didn't remember the name, and so I went on. I was like, oh, I'm sure. I literally typed in Dust too, and then I just kind of went to movies and went to new and just kept scrolling until I found the stupid thing. I was like, I don't know what this is called.
Well, I did that too. I went to new, and then I scrolled and never saw it. I had to type in the full name.
Well, the movie is called Hold Your Breath, and it's over on Hulu. And it's about a mom living with her daughters in 1933 Oklahoma, which is right in the middle of the Dust Bowl, if you remember your history and the Depression. And yeah, Michael was like, what? What did you say? Well, this movie's depressing. It's like, what's the Great Depression?
Where they gave us the date, and so I'm like, man, just leave the town, you fools.
So man, Oklahoma sucks, doesn't it?
Oh no.
Where's our hero?
So this is played by Sarah Paulson, and she and her daughters are in Oklahoma trying to survive on a single cow. And that their husband/dad had left to find some money. He's working on a railroad, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Building a bridge or something like that. Yeah. And so they're trying to make it, and it's pretty miserable because everyone's starving. Everyone's got dust, not good for the lungs. Masks actually will work at this period of time. And then stuff starts to go wrong. The girls read this book about the gray man, and it kind of scares them. And they kind of start thinking that they've seen the gray man around. And I don't know how much of this do I want to go into? Stuff starts getting creepy for them. They're scared, and they meet a stranger, and he's pretty, at first he's helpful, and they feel comfortable around him.
Quick thing. Did he rise from that loft
yes,
like the crypt,
yes.
like someone from the dead? I was just like, how was he doing that?
The weirdest intro.
He just went like.
But it's not even that, because his head's like all the way back.
Well, I can't lean.
So he comes into their lives, and at first it's okay, but then he gets very creepy, and he, they find out stuff about him they don't like. He kind of leaves the picture for a while, and then stuff just keeps getting worse because they get attacked, and it just. I can't describe this without going into spoilers, so let's just go into what you guys thought of it. Let's start with Thomas this time. We'll go the other way around. What did you think of Hold Your Breath?
I was telling Michael I really like the premise for this because it's kind of familiar territory. We live in Lubbock, Texas. Sorry if I just dox us. This is. If you're around in West Texas, you are familiar with dust storms, and I've been in dust storms that look exactly like this, and it's kind of freaky when it happens, especially when you get caught out in them. There's nothing you can do. You literally just have to wait there. And I was like, oh, it's kind of a cool premise. It's like entities haunting the people in the dust storm and the dust bowl. I'm like, that's kind of awesome. But going into some spoiler, we never really get that. It's just kind of. Maybe the mom's crazy, but maybe she isn't. Maybe other people are crazy, but maybe they aren't. Maybe the mom is crazy. Who did the stranger actually ever exist? Or I don't know. There was no definite answers for this, but not in a good way. It was just, it's like they came up with the presents and never. What are you both looking at?
I'm trying to get the guy's name because I always forget his name. Evan Moss.
Don't stop the show for what we're looking at.
No, you both were doing the exact same motion off screen. I was just like, what are they doing? But it was just very unsatisfying. And so I gave it like, I think a 2.5 or something like that. It was a cool premise, and the acting was decent, but overall it was just kind of meh. It wasn't very good.
I guess we have to go to Michael now because Jared has left the box.
Has left the building. I don't disagree with anything you just said, but I did like. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to recommend it to anyone, but it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Visually cool, setting cool, premise cool, but yeah, like it sets up that thing of, hey, let's read this weird horror story, and then like that's obviously kind of seemed like, well, that's what the plot's going to. We're going to learn about this weird like bedtime story of the dust man cometh, but he does cometh, but is he him? I don't know. For some reason he's like a holy man healing people, but he just stole a jacket. What the heck does that any of that mean? But then then it starts playing with the sanity of people. So you get the other boy's mom, who the or actually the older boy died because the other one,
the pneumonia,
and then she goes kind of bananas in her bed, and then the mom goes and sees her, but then after Hero Man leaves their place after getting caught with shady situations, he goes over there and apparently heals her and comes back. But then I'm like, was she ever sick, or did the mom just see her that way? But then the sheriff did take the kid away, so he would have seen it too. Yeah, it's very confusing on what it is. And then the mom starts going bananas, and you're like, is that to do with the weird Shadow Man? Was that guy a Shadow Man? Why is he healing people? Why can't he heal people? There weren't any questions answered. And the premise just kind of shifts. They're like, oh, you know what? We want to do an actual like kind of psychological thriller rather than a spooky horror ghost entity thing. So yeah, it kind of shifts midway through. I still enjoyed it because I did think the performances were really good. And it did it kept me into it, at least. Like I was paying attention the whole time.
Yeah. That's
and like the scene where she goes and they have the weird dance, whatever, and she's like trying to act normal. I thought she did a great job there, and that kind of tension of like, who's losing their mind here? And she keeps looking at her, like, who are you lying?
There was a really good scene with Sarah Paulson where she's practicing in the mirror. She's like, we're doing fine. I'm like, wow, that was actually really good. Yeah. That's kind of creepy.
And I love those scenarios where it's like you're not quite sure, like, is the main character losing their minds? Because she starts mistrusting everyone. She's thinking her daughter's telling people she doesn't want to lose her children. But it's like that's another plot point that they kind of like threw in there, that her friend had her child taken away. And that just kind of seemed out of, like, that wasn't leading to anything. But then it leads into the main kind of ending plot point of she doesn't want her gets taken away. So she's trying to convince everyone that she's fine, everything's normal, whenever I feel like that would have been something that would have been led up to much more heavily rather than just kind of like trickled in halfway through the movie. And you're like, okay, that's where we're going with this. So yeah, it was kind of wishy-washy all over the place, but I did enjoy it. Like I said, visually very, very cool. I like the idea of the string going out into the storm and looking at everything, and like, but we get the end scene because it's like, how are we going to do this? But, and the daughter did such a good, whenever she's first trying to decide what she wants to do with her mama. I thought her daughter did a great performance there whenever she's like really, really struggling with it. But yeah, I don't trust the little girl. I don't trust her.
Wow,
yeah, I don't trust her either.
Yeah,
oh, okay. No trust.
So I'll throw it wherever we're going next. I don't know where we're going.
Jared.
I didn't really care for this movie. I think it's because I wanted more brutality from it, and it just did not want to do that for me, and I was like a little disappointed in it. I thought she was going to shotgun blast one of her children because she was having those.
They had that fake out. They had that fake out.
Oh yeah.
And then I like when the daughter was gonna like, but she decided not to. She was like, oh, I'll make it clean. I'll make her walk out in the dust. There's kind of a brutal scene where they find the kid and he is all full of dust and like suffocated to death.
The mom is like half, I guess she got shot in the face or something.
Oh, I couldn't tell if that was like, because she sees the vision where Broski, he cuts her throat or something like that, or someone cuts her throat. No, she's axing her child in the vision, but then she ends up being the one with like a cut all the way down her face.
Yeah,
but she just, I don't know. It was a strange.
I did like the performances in this, like you guys were saying. I like that. What's his name was Richie was what was his name in this? Wilson or something like that.
Weston or something like that.
Something
like that.
W.
The
The
but
man.
yeah.
Willie Nelson.
But yeah, I felt bad for the sheriff dude. Wallace. The sheriff dude got stabbed, and I was like, oh man, it sucks.
Yeah, that was sad.
I did like the scene where they're at dinner and they're having a good time, and then they get the letter, and she's like, "Get up," and then like reads that part. I thought that was a good scene.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
But yeah, it's just kind of disappointing, and sometimes I lost interest. I just don't think it was for me. I think they should have just went fully with like a gray man presence, or just went total psychological. But yeah, not for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everyone. Like Michael, I thought the movie did keep me going, and I wanted to see how it would ended. I really needed an editor. Some of the transitions weren't great. Like there was also this point where the part with the mom we were talking about, where like someone falls and they see like someone dead, and it was just jarring the way she like just fell. And there was something off on that scene. Also, so I really would have liked, like, you guys we all like have a different way we wanted this movie to go. So I could have wanted it to just be like an evil faith healer dude, like tormenting this family. I thought that would have been cool. That was kind of
like a sin eater type thing.
Well, I don't just like he's a dude, but not like an entity like you guys were thinking. But he's just kind of menacing. But because I liked his character too. The movie, I think that was the best part of the movie is when his character's around and then he kind of leaves. So yeah,
or does he? We don't know.
But like it just seems a little played out. The whole evil or mom goes nuts and kind of dangerous. I think we've seen that a lot, and I think we've seen that from this actress, right, Sarah Paulson. She's done that before. What else was I going to say? There is, like Michael used to say on House 6, this movie could have been good.
There's a good movie in there.
There's a good movie there somewhere. Like you said, the whole string thing was pretty cool, and she's like out there and she like cuts the string. But yeah, it wasn't quite what we all wanted, I guess we could say. But I guess some of us thought it was worse than other. It's Hulu. You can watch it if you have Hulu. So I would
better than most Netflix movies.
And it was pretty. It's pretty short too. It's not a very long movie.
It was like 127, I think.
Yeah.
And that poor cow, was go down some hay for the cow.
Throw me some hay, cousin.
Yeah, there's good shots and stuff, but not doesn't deliver on the ending, I guess we would say. So I guess that's it. You guys want to talk about any other things with these two movies? Salem's Lot or
no, I'm done with that movie. The Dust movie though, I really like the scene where we kind of alluded to it, but where the daughter's walking up and she has a shotgun outside and she's like, but it's showing Richie from the bear, and it's like bouncing forth, and like his performance there of like that look in his eyes of he's like shoot me, but he's like saying her words and it switches between their voices and everything. Oh, that scene was really, really well done. I like that a lot.
Yeah, where he's like, Mom,
put it down, Mom.
That was pretty good. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we got. So we had stuff we liked that in that one, and Salem's Lot was just kind of funny, but
was it?
That's hilarious.
It was pretty funny. All right.
Don't hit the sauce, Thomas. It was all right.
He's like the priest.
I start tying off. He's like, all right.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. So like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff. And we will see you next time. Bye.